All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to 2021. I've taken a little break because, well, it's been the holidays and I've had a lot of stuff going on that I needed to take care of. So I needed to take a little break from Adventures with Sarah, but I'm back now and we have our first coffee chat of 2021. And joining me today from Slovenia is my friend Andrew Villone. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning or good evening, and you're doing the coffee chat, I'm doing the wine chat.
Yes, I've got my coffee. So cheers. Oh, look at that. Look at, oh, it's like the hidden, because it's white, it's the hidden coffee. Invisibility coffee. There you go.
They won't know how much wine I'm drinking because it's kind of invisible or something.
Oh, there you go. We should invent that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, the Zoom wine.
So Andrew and I have not been doing nothing. I know that since I've been pretty quiet, you might think that we haven't been doing anything, but actually Andrew and I have been working very busily over the last few weeks to try and get together what we're going to do for 2021 and 2022. And the problem, of course, is we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know when travel's going to open up. We don't know where's going to open up first. We don't really know if even the hotels and restaurants we want to take people to are going to be open. We don't really know anything. So we've kind of changed our approach. So Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about the approach to how we're going to do tours this coming year?
Yeah, we're going to do a little bit more of, well, when we have this Puglia Trust Me tour, and the whole idea was, let's do a tour where we don't give out any details other than the dates and where people, start and end the tour at.
But that's something we talked about that years ago.
Like that
that has always been
pre-pandemic.
Exactly. We've always had this joke just between us because we've been organizing tours together for a few years now. And it's always been this funny little joke that one of the things that we think is that people, they find out too much about their trip before they come a lot of times. Some people show up and they don't even know what country they're in. And some people,
good, usually.
Yeah. And some people who come on tours, they have read so much down to every last little detail that when they get there, it's not a surprise and it kind of loses some of the delight of travel, and group travel can also be that way. It can be something that loses the spontaneity. So Andrew and I have been talking for a long time about how let's just, as a joke, let's open a company called Trust Me, where we don't actually have tour itineraries. So we thought this would be the right year to do it, right?
If any year it's going to work, it'll be this one. But I mean, to put people's minds at ease, like we have an idea of what we're going to do, and we've got a huge list of here's all these things we want to do, places to go, wherever. But one, we don't want to give all the surprises away because we, like Sarah said, I think people kind of overread and overplan and oh, I want to know every photo point in every town I'm going to go to. So then nothing's a surprise. But we also want to be a little bit flexible. So when we happen to find a new place or some friend of a friend's winery to visit or something like that, then we can put it in the itinerary without saying, oh no, everything's already reserved, everything's already promised, everything has to be this exact certain way. And it'd be nice to get away from that a little bit.
Well, and I think that as a tour guide too, this really appeals to me because that's kind of the thing that has gotten me down over the many years that I've been guiding. It's like 20 years of doing some itineraries that haven't really even changed. You start the tour and you feel like, okay, well, press, play. I've done this before. And it's like, okay, just do the thing that I do. But what I really enjoy is when we kind of go off the rails and I have to be improvising and thinking on my feet. It makes me a happier tour guide. And it also, I think, makes people in the group happier when we're excited about what we're doing. So I think it's going to be fun. And who would have guessed, Andrew, when you and I are sitting around drinking wine and laughing at how funny we think we are and clever we are for this idea of Trust Me tours, who would have ever thought that actually our crazy idea would fit perfectly with the world situation?
Yes, if anyone had predicted the last 12 months, you're gonna have to show me that in writing with like a notary stamp or whatever, because no one could have predicted any of this. So
yeah. So it's this is sort of our general idea for a lot of what we're doing. A lot of it's going to be that we're going to tell you a really basic itinerary, and you're going to have to trust us because we know what we want to do. We know it's going to be fun, and we have some really cool things planned, but because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, for example, all the museums in Venice are closed through April right now, and I don't know when they're going to open again. So it could be that the Venice tour does things that don't involve museums, which that was kind of the plan anyway. So it's just kind of the right time for this crazy idea of you don't need to know so much. And also, I just think we know too much in this information age. We know too much. And it's like going to Christmas Day knowing what's in your Christmas presents. Like, how is life? Where's the delight in life when there's no surprises, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of what I'm assuming travel was, let's say pre-internet, or when you were faxing every place to get reservations. Back then you're like, well, if this Frommer's book I have, which is like 8 years out of date, is like, let's see if this country still exists when we show up. But now now it's gone the other way, and it's so easy. Even if you don't want to, you just get bombarded with all the images, and like, oh, okay, oh, I was hoping that might be a surprise, but it's not. If you Google something, you just kind of see everything. And like I said, I really think it'll be more enjoyable because we can shake it up. And I know most guests that come on our tours, they're not like looking at that paper going, okay, we're supposed to be here at 2 o'clock, Sarah. So, I mean, our guests aren't like that anyway. And this will just be like, hey, this is what you need to wear for today. Or like, get to bed early because we've got an early start tomorrow or whatever. We'll give some little hints away, and then you just wake up and see.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's like every day is Christmas. That's kind of the idea. So in general, what we're going to do is tell you what airport to fly into and where to fly out of. So Puglia is our first attempt at it, and we thought, well, we don't know if we're going to be able to get 12 trusty souls to be able to jump into that, because that's basically what we're looking at, is 10 to 12 person groups. First of all, because we like the idea of smaller groups, we think that's important, but also because what I'm hearing from my friends in Europe is that some sites, museums, things like that may not let in more than 10 or 12 people maximum. Like that may be the maximum group size going forward, right? So what are the other benefits of like just remind me of our conversations why we decided to pin it at 10 or 12 people.
Well, because you could almost pick any lodging you want to do. Because I've always, since I wasn't working with any big groups prior, I always just said, oh, here's a great place. It's got 4 rooms. Great, I'll take it. Now, okay, of course, we can't really do 12 people in 4 rooms, but there's so many lodging places that most tour companies can't use because they don't have because they need a certain amount of rooms. And also just places where, a small private family farm or restaurant or winery, a lot of them, they're not trying to cater to the wedding group of, 50 people or 100 people or things like that. So, and you get more time. I mean, if we go meet the an olive oil producer in Puglia, which is, I'm not spoiling anything. I'm sure we will, but it's everyone gets more time to interact with the people we meet, because they're not like, okay, we're only taking 3 questions because there's 50 of you. It's like, oh, okay, what a nice small little group. And it's nice for everyone on the other end, on the, all our partners in Europe, because they're like, wow, what a small group. This is manageable. I can spend more time. I know everyone's listening to what I say. And it's a better experience for everyone, really.
Yeah. So Andrew's always, this has been the funny thing. So when we started doing stuff together, we've known each other for like 25 years. He got into doing tours completely on his own. I started working for obviously a big tour operator. So we came from completely different angles, because what was your typical group size before you and I started working together?
Almost, you can count them on one hand usually.
Yeah.
I think with Sarah, it was like, oh my God, Sarah, we got 13 people on our first tour. I've never had 13 people on a tour before. That's really big.
I said the same thing.
That was how I thought.
Yeah, so I'm coming from the world where they try to pack the buses as full as is reasonably possible. Like the limits really are like 28, 29 people. And when you have 28 or 29 people, there's a tipping point, it feels like to me, after like maybe 24, 26 people, that it just feels kind of out of control. And you don't have enough time in even 2 weeks to have a conversation with each person. And I just think that that's really a shame. On the other hand, then working with you, going down to groups of like 10 to 12 people, it just felt like this is everybody. And I kept kind of like Romania, we had 10 people, and I kept looking and going, are we missing somebody? I swear we must be missing somebody. But the nice thing about that is that it really feels like we have a little tiny bus and we kind of keep it so it's, family friendly and everybody really gets to know each other. So it's neat. So yeah, I remember for you, you kind of like didn't really get the mechanics of doing group stuff because you were used to just like, hey, let's just get in the car and go somewhere. So it's a little different. We come from opposite ends of the spectrum, is what I'm saying.
Now we're meeting like at the midpoint, you know?
Yes. Yeah. We're meeting the midpoint and we're creating something new, which is really super cool. So the one we're talking about, Puglia, actually is already sold out.
It sold out before we even actually put it up on the internet.
Yeah, we didn't even put it up on the internet and it sold out. But here's the idea that we're gonna do. I'm going to be offering a whole bunch of new itineraries, things we've never done before, and I'm gonna be like the lead, the head of the train. I'm gonna be the first one to do it. If we get enough people that want to do a second tour, then we're going to have one of my incredibly excellent colleagues do that. So for Puglia, we did already open up a second Puglia tour. That's going to be led by Lisa Anderson, who is one of my most trusted friends. She is like a sister to me, and she will take absolutely excellent care of that tour. So she's going to be doing that. For Venice, for example, my friend Stacy, who actually lives in Venice, is going to be taking any subsequent tours after the one that I run. So that's kind of the idea. I'm going to lead the kind of scout tour. And that's very much a trust me tour because I don't know what'll happen on the scout tour. And then the one that comes, if you're not so risk oriented, if you don't like the idea of something being a little bit experimental, you might want to take the second tour, right?
Or the tour, like, the 2023 tour when everything's all figured out and kind of boring, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So that's number one, is this idea that pretty much all the tours are going to fall under the canvas of trust me, because even if we write a day-by-day itinerary, it's possible that these things are just not available due to the whole COVID mess. So every itinerary is super, super malleable. But then staycations. What you want to talk a little bit about the staycation idea?
Staycations, gotta love that. Yeah, staycations is just staying at very few places. Could be one place. We have Tuscany, where it's 6 nights in the same place, or at least like 3 days in each place we go to. So something like Sicily, it's like 3 places with 3 nights in each place. I've got a Croatia one where we've got like 4 nights here and 4 nights there. So it's spending more time, it's spending less time actually traveling. And finding more like a home base or hub and spoke approach, where you just go, you stay in one place, go out to see some things and come back, and you just get more comfortable and you're not thinking about packing your bags every day. And they're generally shorter tour, for the most part, they're shorter tours than, let's say, our normal tours. You know, most of them are, I think they're all under 10 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and we kind of set them up so you can thread them together too. So you can do a few in a row if you wanted to do like 2, or you want to, and I know some people have already registered to do 2 or 3 in a row. So
yeah, that's one of the main things that we're trying to do this year for everyone to know is we're trying to, any tour or staycation we offer, we're trying to have something that's available before it or after it. If people want to come out and do 2 tours, then they buy, then they're paying 1 airfare rather than 2. And doing that transatlantic flight just once instead of twice. So we're doing our best with that, and so far it seems pretty popular, Sarah. I know a lot of people are, like, hey, these 2 are together, I'll just do them both, or what's going on before this, and checking their options for pre or post tour stuff.
And usually you help people arrange the transportation between the 2 points, right?
Yeah. So people will email me, and it will be me. I don't have the robot secretary yet to reply.
Yes.
So everything's handwritten. Like, I have the feather with the ink and I dip it in, and I'm like,
I totally believe you, actually. Which is an important point. I can get to that. Yeah. But that's an important point, is that, it is a little bit of a risk to take a tour. And I guess in a sense with like just these people you found on the internet. But on the other hand, we're not like some big company that has, like, when you call, there's operators are standing by. When you send us an email, it literally is me or Andrew that answers, sometimes both of us. we are personally making all the arrangements ourselves, and you will see me most likely on the ground. If you don't see me on the ground, you're going to see somebody who is a close personal friend of mine, and it's all within the circle of trust. So, I know it seems a little like, I'm gonna give a whole bunch of money to these two people that I thought are cool on the internet. but it
But
has worked out for
that's
people
been
that
happening for a while, Sarah,
I know.
like, and not just in tourism. But we could also say you can sign up for a tour and not give any money to a bunch of people you see on the internet.
True.
Because right now we're doing tour reservations with no deposit required. So
Yeah.
so people don't feel like they don't have to have a financial commitment. Everything's a little bit nebulous right now still.
Yeah, so what we're doing is you can sign up, you fill out the paperwork, so you are vaguely committed to it, and then Andrew and I are going to make a call, probably, I'm guessing maybe February-ish, something like that, for when when we can confidently say the tours are a go. And then at that point, you'll have to send in a deposit of $600 per person, which is non-refundable. It is transferable to other tours, but it will be a non-refundable deposit just to cover our reservation costs of securing all of these cool activities we want to do for you guys. So that's the idea. What else? What am I forgetting?
Well, why don't we go over why don't we kind of go over what we have on offer? Although it appears that some of you out there are just actually checking our website every day when I update a new tour and like inquiring all the way. But it would also be like good just to tell everyone in general, like, here's all the things, all the wonderful things we have planned.
Yeah,
Or
and I do want to know you guys, I do want to tell you guys that if you get skunked, if you don't get the chance to go on a tour specifically with me this year, we are going to be offering pretty much all these things again in 2022, but we haven't got that schedule ready. But we're going to try to have that schedule out for you guys. Probably, what do you think, by like March, right? We want to have
yeah, I think when we meet up for our little powwow.
for our palette. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a recon mission in February. So my website, for the people that don't know, is adventureswithsarah.net. And then there's just a link right on the homepage where you can click on to 2021 tours. I feel like an infomercial. I'm really sorry, but I know you guys have been asking us to do this for a long time. So we want to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. Before we start talking about the ones that Andrew and I are doing, I do also want to let you know that I am still working with Reed. Reed is one of my favorite people, along with Andrew, my two angels who are always in the wings with helping me realize my crazy ideas. So Reed is imprinttours.com. That's where you can go and register for tours with me there. And I'm doing Iceland. That's the exciting news, is I'm going to be doing Iceland in September. That's I don't know that I'll ever do that one again. That might be a one-off. So please, if you're interested in Iceland, you'll want to register for that for September of this year, 2021. And then we also have Morocco for the fall this year, but next year, 2022, that was kind of weird. We are planning to do a Southeast Asian dance, which is going to be Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. You can do them in pieces or you can do the entire thing. And that's going to be with people that I love, some of my favorite colleagues. And Southeast Asia is just magnificent. So absolutely cool thing to do. I'm going to be doing Peru. I'm going to be doing what else? I have to look. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff I'm doing through, though. In the future, we will be doing India. Oh, Egypt and Petra in Jordan. That's back on the calendar for the end of 2022. So just keep that in mind, that what we talk about today is the stuff that's Europe based. And if you want to do one of these ones, Morocco, oh yeah, we're going to do at least 2 Moroccos in 2022. So if you're interested in these more exotic things that I've been doing, which are fantastic, that stuff is available on Imprint Tours. Also, though, note that different rules, different players, different rules. So those tours do actually have larger groups. They are going to have, I think we decided, between 20 and 24 people. It's really going to depend on how travel insurance and all that stuff kind of plays out. But that's generally what we have to have, larger groups there just for logistical and costing purposes. So those are 20 to 24-ish probably for all of the Imprint tours. Va bene, enough with that. So Andrew, go ahead.
All right. let's talk 2021. Like Sarah mentioned, you know, we have some tours we have second dates on because the first date has sold out. So there's a lot of people who had signed up for a Romania tour in 2020. I'm still trying to say this year, but this year is now last year. So we have a second Romania tour. We have the second Puglia tour. And we have the Veneto Slovenia tour, a second version of that running in October. Those are kind of like one, you know, some of those Romania and Veneto ones are like holdovers from 2020. And because enough people wanted to go and we're doing the small groups, that we'll have the second run of those. But for staycations, I think staycations is for right now really just Italy and Croatia. I've added a couple of Croatia ones. Although I think that probably will expand a little bit, not for this year, but probably for next year. So Sarah, maybe you want to go over your kind of just your in your backyard tours for you, let's say.
Yeah, I can't wait to go home. So what I decided to do was to tap into my my group of friends, my colleagues, my connections, all the people that I know, and really dive deep into places. Because I guess my idea is I don't want to do a tour of, you know, a city that just is stuff you either have already done or stuff you could easily do on your own. So these are going to be tours that really utilize the local knowledge that I have there. So we're going to be doing the first one off the bat, and these are a little bit more tentative because they are summertime. The very first one we're going to give a go at is Rome, and that's going to be celebrating my birthday. So that's going to be 26th of June is the start date on that. And that's going to be a week staying in a part of Rome you probably haven't been to, one of the small neighborhoods of Rome. And then we're going to do some offbeat stuff in the center of the city. And then we're going to focus a lot on one of my favorite things, which is exploring the countryside around Rome. There are so many amazing archaeological sites that nobody ever goes to because they're not accessible unless you have private transportation. So we're going to do that, the Castelli Romani, probably trying to see the Pope's Palace at Castel Gandolfo. So there's a whole bunch of really interesting things. We'll probably do a day trip up the coast to go see Etruscan tombs. So it's going to be a combination of staying in the city and then day trips within an hour or two of Rome, which seriously is hard to trim down to 7 days because there's way too much to do. So that's going to be, I'm formulating that with my friend Susanna Perucchini. And if we get a full group of 10 to 12 people, we'll add another date for her later on. I know Trish has also expressed interest in leading that tour as well. So Susanna is going to help me with it, and she's going to be the guide for any additional ones that we do. So that's going to be, I'm calling it sort of intermediate Rome. So if you've been to Rome and you've seen the Colosseum, the Forum, the Pantheon, and the Vatican, we're not seeing those things on this tour. We're going to kind of go a level deeper, and we're going to take you to see things that are really spectacular that will complement your first trips to Rome. So Rome is my favorite city in the world, and it's sort of my second home. So I'm so excited to show you extra layers that maybe you haven't seen. So that's June. Directly after that in July, Roberto Becchi and I, who I know you guys have seen Roberto, he's kind of my little co-conspirator in, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said little, but he is little. And he lives in Siena, and I stayed with him this past summer for a few days, and we came up with this idea of doing a staycation based at his house. He has this gorgeous farmhouse, really amazing location in the middle of the hills near Siena. And so we've come up with a really backdoor kind of tour, which is going to be like, you know, not going to any big cities. Well, we will go do day trips out to bigger cities, but for the most part, it's going to be little tiny villages, smaller experiences, and also just enjoying kind of the Tuscan lifestyle. And his farmhouse is very farmhousey. It's not luxury standard hotel. It's like staying in somebody's home. And his wife Patty is just a fantastic hostess. So it'll be kind of like, I don't know, summer camp. And this is a really tiny group because we can only take a maximum of 7 people, which is, we're ideally hoping for either 3 couples or 3 pairs traveling together, because we only have a total of 4 rooms. So that's all we can do. Tiny micro group. But I think it's going to be an awful lot of fun. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, if you're doing these tiny groups, these tours probably cost a fortune. They don't. We're trying to keep them within the range of a more mainstream tour. A little bit more expensive, obviously, just because it is super small numbers, but they're definitely within the range of what if you've ever been on a tour, you've paid for other tour companies. So, what else, Andrew? Oh,
Um,
should I keep going?
yeah, yeah, you might, there's some place called Venice, you might want to give that a plug.
Yes. So those two are June, July, and then the next thing I'm going to do when I come back in the fall, at the end of August. I know that sounds like a weird time of year to do it, but the end of August is a weirdly dead kind of time in Venice, because it's right before the Regatta Storica, which is one of their biggest events of the year. And it's sort of just a quiet week. So we chose a really strategic week at the end of August to do a week in Venice. And this is in association with Stacey Gibboni, my friend who you probably met before. She's an artist, and she is she's a local Venetian, basically. She's been there for more than 20 years. And she's formulated an itinerary with me that focuses on each of the districts of Venice. So there are 6 sestieri, so 6 districts. So each day we're going to focus on that district, and we're going to do something that is related, either take a little walking tour, we're going to do an activity in that district. For example, one of the things nobody ever does is nobody really gets to know the Jewish ghetto, for example. So that's something that we want to take a look at. We're also going to be renting a boat and doing a really cool cruise around the lagoon. And my hope, I don't know if I can do it, but my hope is to take people out to a plague island. I know that maybe feels a little too topical right now, but the nice face. The plague islands in Venice are fascinating. And so I want to take you to places that you probably have never heard of. So that's the idea, is utilizing Stacey and I as local experts, along with our friends who are local guides in Venice, who, when we work with them, the idea is going to be, please show people things they could never find on their own, because I want you to get to know Venice completely not from the touristic point of view, but from the point of view that I've come to after 25 years of spending significant time there. So basically like almost a resident's point of view on the city. So that's going to be with Stacey. If we have enough people to run a second one, Stacey will be the guide on the subsequent ones. And she lives right in the heart of Venice. So it's we might even get to see her house and her studio, which is really fun. Okay, and then after that, it's Sicily, right?
Sicily, yeah.
Okay, so Sicily is one that I'm working on with also my friend Susanna Perucchini, and Sicily, of course, is one of my areas of expertise. And I love the Sicily tour that I've done for years, but a couple of things about it is that I don't like one night stays. I think that changing hotels too many times is tiring, but also kind of against the idea of the Sicilian pace. And also, I just don't think changing a lot of hotels makes a lot of sense in this COVID age. It's better to reduce risk, have fewer hotels. So my idea is 3 nights Palermo, 3 nights Western Sicily, 3 nights Eastern Sicily. Now, it's hard in the East, especially, to choose where you do 3 nights because there's too much. And I know that there's no way we can do everything. So we have to make a selection. It's only a 9-day tour, but it's a tour that I wanted to create that would be appropriate for people who've already been to Sicily. So if you've already been there, or if you've never been there, it won't duplicate too much of what you may have already done, but it'll also be a perfect introduction to the island for those who've never done it before in a smaller scale, slower paced way. So I'm hoping, I believe, that we will have the opportunity to stay in Palermo with my friend Alvine, who has a palace in Palermo. We'll be in the Western Sicily. We're going to stay probably in the Marsala region at an agriturismo, and we'll see Selinunte, which is one of the most incredible Greek sites ever, which I've always been so heartbroken is overlooked by almost every major tour company, because it's the largest archaeological park in Europe, I believe, something like that. It's enormous. So we'll do that. And then on the eastern side, we're going to home base in Taormina and actually go up Etna. We're going to take the lift up Etna, get in the like 4x4 vehicles and drive out to watch the mountain steam up close, which is one of the highlights. I think that's one of the great travel experiences, is actually going to the top of Europe's most active volcano. So lots of other stuff, but that's just a preview for some of the things that are on my mind and islands and boats. We are going to get out to a couple of islands, take some boats. So it's going to be a really cool itinerary. Phew. All right.
Oh, I'm exhausted just listening to that. No, it sounds
I,
fantastic because I've never been to Sicily, and I'm like, that's the kind of way, that's the way I want to see Sicily is on this tour. So maybe I'll get some doppelganger to actually lead my tours I'm supposed to lead in September, and I'll come down on the Sicily tour.
so now you guys can see why Andrew and I have been so quiet for the past like couple of weeks, because trying to get all this stuff set up is like, it's a full-time job. So,
Yeah, and I
all right.
want to say also on these staycays, and you mentioned it before. Obviously, if there's if there's enough people, we'll run a second tour, and then you'll have the local guides there. But on most of the staycays, we can also make it a private tour. So if people want to come out just with their small groups, and some of them are already going to be 6 or 7 people like Tuscany, you can contact us and we can discuss doing just the itinerary just with your group, which especially this year, some people might feel a lot safer just traveling with the people they know, or just getting, since it's not a huge group anyway, if you can get together, 10 people, 6 to 10 people, then, you can, we could be flexible on dates and other things like that. So if that sounds appealing to you, then you got to start knocking on doors or sending emails to your friends, because I deal with a lot of Australians, and Australians travel like that a lot. So almost anytime I have an Australian couple, it's like they're going to come with their other couple, and sometimes it's third or fourth couple. So if since these things are customizable and small group anyway, we're going to open it up for private tours as well.
So minimum groups of what, like 4 or 6?
Yeah, probably 6, but I think, we can talk, we could always discuss, we always, have a private chat with any parties interested. If it's a smaller group, it could work at maybe a different price. So I mean, just drop us an email and inquire, and we could always figure out a solution, I'm sure.
So I'm checking the comments on Facebook, and one of the questions is, what are our prices? So it's not really across the board equal between destinations, because some places are more expensive than others. For example, Venice is quite expensive compared to Sicily, compared to Romania. Romania is really inexpensive in comparison. But can you give us sort of a little idea about prices?
Yeah, I mean, I would say most staycations are, I always just do just divide everything up by the amount of nights we're there. So it's like $340 to $400 a day in for the different tours. So if it's you can take a ballpark, I don't know, 365, 370 as maybe an in between thing, and times that by the amount of days we're there, and that's most likely going to be the price. And I will say this, that most of these staycations, some of the lodgings and some of the meals and other things that are included are a lot more than a normal big tour group offers. I mean, not just more in the amount of them, but also the quality of things. We're not, our goal isn't to make as cheap a deals as we can with certain restaurants that just cater to big groups and say, okay, here's everyone, I got 20 euros for everyone, grab a plate and, give them whatever. We're picking the meals we're including, or the wine tastings or olive oil tastings we're including. Everything's very specialized. Still a good value, but you definitely get more and better quality of what we include on these tours and staycations.
Yeah, our budgets, we spend a lot more of our budget on food and hotels, I think, than more of a mainstream approach, because we want to make sure that we're giving everybody a cut above. So basically, smaller groups, better hotels, better food, more personalized attention. It's all cool. And actually, I have to say, Andrew, I have to give you so much credit, because the feedback I get about you from almost all of our customers is that you are super good with customer service, because Andrew helps people book their transportation to the beginning of the tour. He's really super responsive about answering questions. I've got a gazillion things going on. So often if you email, I'm going to just forward the email to Andrew, and Andrew's going to be the one that responds, because he's better at that than me.
And I also have a lot of ideas of what you can do, like before you come out. I mean, obviously it'd be great if you want to come on a couple of back-to-back tours, but if you're doing your own thing before the tour or after the tour, I've definitely have some suggestions, and also help with, like, here's all the different ways, here's all the different ways you can get from wherever you're going to be to the start of our tour. So just feel free to ask those things when you inquire about stuff, because some of our tours, we don't, some of them, okay, the Rome one's going to start in Rome, but some of our other tours don't really start in like a major place where like, hey, here's this massive airport that has flights, every 2 hours from everywhere, so and we will help work with you on how to get there and how to get out when you're done.
Yep. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is single women traveling by themselves. We do obviously welcome individual women. There is an extra charge though, because obviously hotel rooms for singles cost us a lot more than a hotel room that you share. So we just pass on basically that cost to you. So it's something, it ends up being, how much per day extra, like $50 a day extra, something
50
like
or
that.
60 a day for the.
Yeah, 50 or 60, because that's actually what it costs for us to book a single room for you instead of a double. So we just have to pass that cost along. That's different for each tour. And if you're a single woman, but you do want a roommate, you just let us know. And if we can find you one, great. If we can't find you one, you have to pay the supplement. But if we can find you one, and actually we have such cool people on our tours that when we have done that, when we have paired up individual women who didn't know each other, they actually become really good friends. So that is something we can do. So what else? Okay, so we should probably tell people which tours are already sold out. So Puglia is sold out and Sicily is sold out, right?
Yes, Sicily and Puglia are off the books. The
But
Romania, yes, but
Sicily, Puglia, and Romania, the first departures are
yes,
sold out. But we will be, if we have enough interest, we will open up additional ones, which will be led by friends. So Susanna Perucchini will do Sicily, and Lisa Anderson will do Puglia if we have enough demand to open another date, right?
that's correct. So yeah, and we also have waiting lists too. So if we're not going to do a second tour yet, if we haven't announced that, like on our site, it says, hey, this one's sold out, but we have a second one. If it doesn't say that and we're sold out, then we will take people on a waiting list, because people, might drop out when we need to collect deposits, or something might come up where people, I've had quite a few people switch tours. Oh, now you're offering this. Okay, I'm going to go on this one instead of this one. And so things do open up, and I've had people on waiting lists in the past 2 months have already gotten on to tours they wanted to get onto. So it's because it's kind of a fluid situation. So if it says sold out on the website, send an email in and I'll put you on a waiting list. That's not an issue for sure.
Yeah, absolutely get on the waiting list, because sold out doesn't mean anything since we haven't actually sold anything. We haven't
Yes.
taken any money from anybody. So it's almost just like a priority list at this point about who gets the slots when they become available.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, don't be afraid of that. So yeah, we've got, I think, all the other staycations we're just starting to take people in. They're like, I don't think there's another one that's more than half full. So
Oh,
everything.
we forgot to mention one of them.
Oh yes, Naples.
Naples, yes. So my friend Alfredo Capasso Vitale, who he assisted me in Sicily year before last, and we became great friends. He is an extremely experienced tour guide, and he lives in Naples. And we just sort of started this off with a conversation that I've just never gotten Naples. Like, Naples has always been a little bit of a mystery to me. And I think it's always been me that's the problem. And so he has sort of, he was like, yeah, I need to teach you how to really love Naples the right way. And so we came up together with this idea, mostly him, for a really super cool itinerary. And it's going to be a week in Naples. And this, I think, is going to blow your minds for sure. I mean, it's an itinerary that is absolutely stuff that you would never see on your own for the most part. Some of it maybe you have if you're a very experienced traveler, but getting to see the city through Alfredo's eyes. He lives in the Spanish Quarter in the middle of Naples. So we're going to get to go and hang out with him. We're going to go out to his farm out in the countryside and see what he's growing out there. We're going to do a cooking class with him. We're going to do lots of great exploration of archaeological sites in the areas. I'm going to be on half of that because I'm going to be finishing up Morocco and coming from Morocco. So I won't be there for the entire tour, but Alfredo, you'll be fine with Alfredo, and I'll be there for the excursions part, the part at the second half where we're going out into the countryside and into archaeological areas around Naples. So that is a very exciting one, and that one's about half full. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's half full. Yeah, I just found a city that looked really interesting. And I thought, ooh, that's not so far from Naples. I wonder if Alfredo's got that on the tour. And then I looked through my notes, is like, oh, good, he does have that on the tour. So like, so yeah, there's certainly, it looks like some very interesting little excursions on that week-long trip as well.
And I think that that's sort of the goal for the Naples itinerary. Gets to the heart of sort of my philosophy in the way that I want to do tours, which is I want people to get beyond the postcards. I want people to get beyond the ideas you have in your head. When you think of Naples, you may not think of always like the right things. You need to be thinking about archaeology. You need to be thinking about the fact that it was the capital of the Spanish Bourbon Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. So there's a lot of amazing things to see there that you've probably never heard of. So that's what I want to do, is in general with all of these tours, is take you below the surface, take you to a level you haven't seen yet, and really get to know Italy the way I know it after spending 25 years coming and going from the country. I know it in a probably different way than you do, and I want to help expose that approach. So enough about Italy, though. Let's talk a little bit about kind of we only have a couple minutes, but I want to talk a little bit about going forward into the future and some of your crazy ideas. Because every time that we talk, which is every day basically, Andrew always has like hey, let's do an Albania tour. And I'm like, okay. So
yeah,
tell me, what's your crazy idea for today?
Okay, well, I have a lot of ideas, and they're all for 2022 because we're already in 2021 now, so we can only do so much. Yeah, I want to do a Albania and northern Greece tour that will be places in Greece that people don't go to and won't be the island part of Greece. But since we're doing stuff with Reed, I'm going to try to plan that, because I know Reed's got some Greek island tours. I'll try to plan that. So if people want to do the islands after that tour, so sync it up, that people can do something like that. Yeah, I want to take people to the Baltic countries next year. Sarah's never been there, so I'm going to drag her along just because she needs to see some new places. So I've got Baltics, I've got Poland, I've got Albania, northern Greece. So a lot of countries people don't know much about, that I've spent some countries I've spent a lot of time in. Others, like Albania, I think Sarah and I will be checking it out for the first time in the not so distant future. So some new places that for sure most people haven't been. I want to show you like why you don't want to overlook them. And there's also a lot of history, and some really amazing cities that that are just a little bit outside of that kind of focal point that people have for Europe. So I want to start showcasing some of that. And I know the people who've been with us for Romania, for Slovenia, for Croatia, they've been more than impressed with these places they didn't know much about. And I think that's going to continue on with these other destinations, because it's all like how you see a place and how you do it and how you kind of plan it. It's there's so many places that are worth seeing if you kind of do it the right way. And I certainly think that's one thing we're really good at is letting people see it in the right way.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of questions I want to answer. Piedmont. Yeah, Piedmont's on. Sorry, yet again, we not enough coffee this morning. Piedmont is going to be led by Lisa Anderson, and that's going to be an exploration of her hometown and her zone around Cuneo, and I highly recommend it. I love visiting her. We're going to try to visit her hopefully in the spring, but for sure that's on, and that is in September. So how are we doing? I think we're about half sold out on that one.
Yes, yeah, we've got, yes, we're around half. Yep.
Okay. Another question is, what about New Zealand with Colin? Yes, that is on. Let's cross our fingers and hope that is for November, New Zealand with Colin. And here's the bonus. Those of you who had signed up this year and then it got kicked down the road and now it's kicked down the road again, Colin and I have decided to add on his new Australia tour as an optional extension to that, or you can just come for the Australia part of it. So we're going to do New Zealand and a little short stint in Australia. So if you're interested in that, that's totally Colin's thing. I'm just going with him. So it is mondumo.com, I believe, Mondumo Tours, Mondumo. And we do still have spots available for both of those. And I think that those groups are going to be a little bit bigger than what Andrew and I are doing. I think I want to say they're in the 20-ish range. So if you want to do that, that's November of next year. It's going to be super cool. And that's another one like Iceland that's a one-off. I'm never doing it again. I just wanted to do it so I can go and expose you guys to it, write some really interesting content, and help my friend Colin out a little bit. So one time only. So if you want to do Australia, New Zealand, that's November only, never going to happen again. So let me just check and see if there are any other questions. So 2020, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, while you're looking at questions, I will throw out the two staycations that I will be doing this year, both in Croatia. One's in the Istria Peninsula region, which is, I drive 20 minutes and I'm across the border in Croatia, and that's always been my favorite region. It's a great place for foodies. So it's going to be 4 nights along the seaside in an old Venetian town that actually used to be an island. Now it's attached to the land. And then another 4 nights in one of the little hill towns. And when I say little hill towns, those of you who've been to Italy, the hill towns in Italy are like megapolises compared to the hill towns in Croatia. These things are really these are like a 1-horse town. So it's not the hill towns that still have managed to fit 20,000 people in them. They're very, very small. So we're going to do half hill towns and half coastal towns. And then I'm going to have a Dalmatian staycation also, where we take in this beautiful island that's right behind me called Vis, which is my favorite island. It's kind of hard to get to. So if we're going to go all the way there, we'll spend 5 nights on the island doing a lot of amazing things and a little bit of time on the coast. So that's going to be more of a leave the cruise ship and mass tourism kind of destinations aside, because you can always go to Dubrovnik and those places before or after these tours. These will be showing you something, and with a lot less other spectators and tourists on the way there.
Cool. Okay, so we got to wrap this up here. I have to take my new cat to the vet, so I got to scoot. But I also wanted to just make one quick, really exciting announcement for those of you who support me on Patreon. Anybody who is a supporter at the $10 or higher level on February 1st, I'm going to take a snapshot February 1st. Anybody at that level is going to get a $50 voucher for any tour that Andrew and I lead, or any tour that I am leading for Reed. So that's 50. If you're planning to take a tour with me, I just want to invite you to join my Patreon, because that is a good way to help me pay my mortgage for the next few months until we tour. So even at the $10 a month level, you're going to get a $50 voucher, which is a good deal. So patreon.com/adventures with Sarah, that's where you can find me. And then if you are at the $50 level, which is the top level of donations, you're going to get a $100 voucher to use on any tour. And that's this year or next year or whenever. That's that will never expire. So February 1st, if you are at the $50 level, you're going to get the $100 voucher, and $10 and above will get a $50 voucher, and it will never expire. That will be a discount you can use forever. So thank you to all the Patreon people out there who are supporting me. You mean so much to me, you can't even imagine. So, and if you're not a supporter, please consider doing that, because there's going to be lots of treats, including slideshows and other things coming up. Last thing before we go, Andrew, do you want to just 1 minute tell people about our plan starting February 1st?
Yes. So we're going to, Sarah's had the brainchild, and I'm like, yes, let's do it. And Reed's like, let's do it. So starting the beginning of February, every week we're going to have a new destination we're going to focus on, and we'll have live streams. Some of it will be talk, some of it could be the cooking classes. We'll maybe bring in some people from the countries, the destinations we're going to. If we can do a virtual tour, we'll do that as well. There'll be some new blog content up, so you can read some new pieces. And then once per week, we'll be doing kind of a PowerPoint slideshow of the tour or tours for that destination, so people get a really good idea of what we're offering and what they're going to see if they sign up for that. So keep an eye out for that on Adventures of Sarah's social media channels. And it's going to be fantastic. And I think we're basically going to do this until we actually have to start running tours again. So I think we're going to get in a lot of destinations.
And we're going to be talking about stuff that's in the distant future too, because Reed and I, for example, I mean, I want to do South Africa eventually, but I don't even have that on the map yet. So I want to work with Reed to present that as a destination, and we'll talk to local experts. We'll do some cooking stuff. We'll do a bunch of different things. And that could be a tour that we don't do until 2024. I don't even know. So we just thought it'd be great to take this interim, which might last until June or September, and fill each week exposing you to destinations maybe you've never thought about. So we're going to call it Adventures Around the World with Sarah, Andrew, and Reed. So
that just rolls off the tongue, I tell you.
It does. All right, guys, I got to scoot because I've got this little thing here. This little nugget needs to go to the vet. So thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing everything with us. And hello to everybody out there from Opal and I. And if you want to book any of these tours, adventureswithsarah.net is the place to go, or imprinttours.com. And then the New Zealand and Australia is mondumo.com. I'll put all of those links up in just a few minutes. So thank you, Andrew.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Sarah, and good luck, Kat.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Ciao.